right. Good evening, everybody. I would like to call to order the meeting of the Town of Londonderry Master Plan Steering Committee for October 16th, 2025. We could all stand and pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. So, Mr. Secretary, I believe that we did have minutes that were sent around.
So, Mr. Chair, we did have minutes from, I believe, our August meeting,
Yes.
and I received no comments back, so I would make a motion that we approve the minutes as presented.
I second that motion.
Excellent. I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right, minutes passed. So I'd like to open up public comment. If anyone from the public wishes to speak to us, feel free to do so at this time. Seeing none, I will close public comment. And I want to just kind of mention that, we did have a break last month from this. I hope everyone, use their 2 hours appropriately to kind of think how we can best align and improve Londonderry through the master plan process. Much appreciated for all the work that everyone does. But with that said, it is autumn and the season of change. I have no idea where that came from, but I would like to just introduce our, kind of our new Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission representatives. As you know, Sylvia, assisted us and, guided us, through that first phase. She has, there's, significant shoes to fill here, but I know that Suzanne will do that. So Suzanne, you want to just introduce yourself and your team?
Absolutely. Great to see everyone tonight, first of all. I've actually been in this room with y'all about a year ago. I got to pinch hit for Sylvia one night, so definitely recognized some faces, and I'm happy to be back. My name is Suzanne Nienaber. I'm a principal planner with the Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission, and I will be joined in this kind of new phase of our work by Cam Perlman. And we can provide a little bit more detail about our background and how we're going to move into this role, either now or kind of as we get into conversation. But if we might as well just talk up front since we're kind of new faces to some of you in the room. So I got my master's in urban planning about 20 years ago and started out in the consulting world and did a lot of master plans for communities around the country. Then I was living in New York City and ended up working under the Bloomberg administration for about a decade and helped create a separate independent nonprofit really looking at the intersection between planning and public health. And I've always been really interested in kind of a very multi-sector approach and bringing lots of different perspectives to the table to kind of be creative and help problem solve and get things done in an efficient and productive and friendly way. So I'm really excited to kind of be with this group tonight. One reason why I'm also here is that I just wrapped up the final draft of the Chester Master Plan. So we just put that out, finished up the public comment period, and we're heading towards planning board adoption in November. So that frees me up to spend, I was like, oh, I got like 2 days to breathe, and I'm back on another master plan. Really happy to be here. And I'll let Cam go ahead and introduce himself.
Thank you. Should I come up to the?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah, please.
Hi, everybody. I know some of you, but not all. My name is Cam Perlman. I'm a senior planner with the Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission. I am a Granite Stater. I've been with the Planning Commission for, 10 years now. I mainly do land use planning. I'm also a town planner for the towns of Deerfield and Auburn. I've worked on many master plans in the Southern New Hampshire planning region, and I've helped on this master plan somewhat with Sylvia. A lot of writing, the survey analysis that you guys, I think, have in front of you. So, yeah, happy to help out, and we're going to get this thing to the finish line, and it's going to be a good product. So,
Well, thank you very much. We're really excited to have have you both kind of help us through this. With that said, we wanted to kind of then get into, move to a discussion on what does the future, what are the next steps? Where are our guidelines? Where are our guideposts? Where's our milestones?
Yeah.
So Suzanne and Kim, you want to present what you got?
Yeah, we brought some slides to go through tonight. I think it's helpful to have a visual reference to guide the conversation. I think we already kind of covered maybe some of we all know the scope of the agenda. So I think we want to first start by talking about our regroup and kind of what are our new guideposts for collaborating together over the next few months. We know there's a lot of work to do in a pretty compressed period of time because we want to have a solid final draft in hand by early 2026. So it's exciting. Nothing like a little bit of time pressure to build momentum. Then I know you all are excited to hear a little bit about the Tier 2 survey findings. Those have already been released, and you all had a fast review. Cam's going to talk about, from a very high level overview about that. And then I'd like to conclude with preparation for fall work sessions, because we really are going to start digging in the next time we meet. So we already did our introductions. If you don't mind, for our benefit, and since I think this is Cam's first time in the room, could we just go down the line and have you all give a little bit of background about yourselves, and especially if you're representing any other boards or committees in town, it's really helpful for us to understand your expertise.
I guess I get to go first. My name is Bob Robichek. I'm on a zoning board. We just met last night, actually, and I'm on this group. I am a practicing architect. I do mostly municipal work. Been practicing for 45 years, licensed in 7 states. Most of my work is, like I said, municipal type work, police, fire, town halls, DPWs, recreation facilities, things like that. So.
My name's Lisa Sussman, and I'm a 35-year resident of Londonderry. My children and grandchildren born and raised here. And my husband and I also had a business here for 30 years before we sold our practice and retired. And I am an alternate on zoning board.
Great.
My name is Martha Smith, and I am a retired attorney. I'm also on the utility committee and particularly on the water subcommittee of that committee. And I've lived in Londonderry for 43 years and raised my family here and have seen a lot of change during the time that I have lived in this town. And I'm happy to be a part of this committee as well.
I'm Marge Bedoy. I'm chairman of the Conservation Commission. My day job for the last 20 years has been a real estate broker, and I've been in town about 40 years.
Jeff Penta. I am the chair of the Master Plan Steering Committee, also vice chair of the Planning Board. I've been a resident of Londonderry since 2012, resident of New Hampshire since probably when I started college. I work in higher education, currently at Northeastern University. We try to get involved in various kind of capacities and such like that. So still excited to be here.
I'm Lynn Wiles. I'm retired engineer, product manager, retired about 5 years now. I'm the chairman of the Utilities Committee, the secretary of the Planning Board. I'm on this committee representing the Planning Board. Looking forward to, I was part of the last master plan process as well, so I'm just looking forward to supporting this the best I can.
Hi, John Mahan, 40-year resident of Londonderry with 2 years off for good behavior. Here representing Heritage and Historic Commission, also on Beautify Londonderry and the Utilities Commission here in town. And I'm a retired businessman.
Fantastic. Well, I'm pleased to know that we have such great expertise at the table, and thrilled to be working with you all. So one thing I'll share, we already covered our staff introductions. You see younger pictures of especially Cam. So I'll move past that. One of the things that I wanted to do when Sylvia was kind of passing the torch to me I'm a very visual person, so I wanted to really spell out for myself what are all the accomplishments this group has done to date, what are our remaining needs, and in light of our very compressed timeline that we're working under, I've had conversations with Jeff, Jake, with Kelly about are there ways we can not duplicate efforts, not reinvent the wheel? Is there anything we can choose to omit at this time just to make our work together a little bit easier? So you all know what you've done to date. It was really helpful for me to see that you have a really solid foundation to build upon with the introduction, the vision, the community demographics and that community profile, understanding the regional context and looking at land use and growth, and also housing, which is, as we know, one of the most challenging topics for any community right now. In terms of remaining needs, the most important item we're going to work on together is a future land use map. And the reason why I say it's the most important, it is one of the two elements that is legally required for a master plan. One is a vision statement, the second is a future land use map. So we really want to make sure we devote time, effort, and attention to creating a future land use map that reflects the values and what you all want to see for the future of this community. And then we have 4 chapters that we're going to work on together: transportation, natural resources, economic development, and historic and cultural resources. 3 of those are going to be very much influenced by the results of that survey that we're going to learn about tonight. One of them, and I'm glad to see that John can represent this perspective, we're going to talk more about how to glean more information to inform that historic and cultural resources chapter, and there's a lot of different ways we can start to tackle that. The 2 sections that we're going to omit in terms of just like, setting expectations for ourselves for the next few months, one is community facilities, and I don't know all the details. Kelly, feel free to weigh in, but my understanding is that there's other work afoot around a strategic plan that could be covering some of this ground.
Right. And actually, do you want to talk to this or you want me? All right. So we're currently, the town manager's office and our town manager, Sean Mulholland, who is in the audience, I'll recognize him. So we're in process of the beginning stages of our strategic plan for the town as a whole. So community facilities is a big piece to that plan that will be covered, and so it's really would be a duplicative effort to include it both in the master plan and the strategic plan. So that's the short version of why it makes sense to omit it at the master plan stage.
And then I'll mention that the other item we would like to just take off the table for now is the implementation matrix. And conversations with Jake and with Jeff, that can be left to the planning board to work out later after the full adoption of the plan. And so for an example of a community that chose to do that is Bedford. Their latest master plan concludes with like a paragraph about here's how implementation should occur, but the planning board is really going to take on the responsibility for convening and working with stakeholders to finalize an implementation matrix and really nail down the timeline. We think that given the time frame we have in hand, that leaving that as a task for the planning board to take on makes a lot of sense. Any questions so far? I see a confused
Yeah, well,
look.
I'm very concerned about the implementation part of it, that I think that, and planning board, great, but I want it to be something that we can see, that we can check off that, okay, well, these things have actually been accomplished. I don't want it to sit on a shelf, which has happened in the past. My only comment.
So I just want to speak to that a little bit. So one of the things that we've talked about, by we I mean Jake, Jeff, and I, and the RPC to some degree, but by keeping it at the planning board level, we're trying to take a more refined approach, doing one chapter and at a time, one chapter a year is ideal, to put in the implementation items for the chapter that we're covering in that year. And the reason for that is so that we can do exactly what you outlined, so that we can develop realistic implementation goals, actions, and the how behind how to accomplish those. I think when you're trying to write the implementation for all the chapters at once while writing the actual chapters, I think that's really difficult, and I think it would be more beneficial to take it one bite of the apple at a time, if you will. One chapter at a time, look at it as a whole, take the time that's needed to assess that particular topic, and very clearly define the action items that we should be covering as a town as it relates to that master plan chapter. That's the idea that we've talked about so far
Okay,
in terms of implementation.
okay. Well,
Kelly, if yeah,
No,
no. So I also think that it's also gives the opportunity to have some of these actions kind of baked into the town strategic plan as well.
Yep.
Where appropriate. So we're tracking it from there. I've definitely been in situations where we have had two visioning documents per se. Not saying that the town strategic plan, will kind of, will do that, but it's really, I do see that this process here is an excellent opportunity to kind of feed that plan. And that ensures that the appropriate eyes are on it as well. So when we go back, at least how I'm envisioning it, when we go back, in building the strategic plan, whatever however often that gets updated, we pull this information from the master plan, which is our vision, which is our mission, which is, where we want to go. And then how we get there is kind of done in a way that
And-
really kind of prevents us from even having this document as as something we put on the shelf.
Okay, so so let's say the planning board's looking at a chapter and looking at certain things that they would implement. Who's going to decide what the things are that we're going to implement?
Yes, so that, it's guided by the master plan.
Okay.
Right,
Okay,
so it's
so it's
always-
going to be
right,
in
so
the
it's always
master
gonna be in
plan,
right.
and then you're going to figure out what those things are and when to implement them,
Yeah, once we understand what they are
what they are, yeah.
and when to implement them and when it makes sense to definitely implement it as as the town evolves, as we, all the other kind of items that have been, kind of where the town is tackling under the, and from the town manager's office and, kind of doing the great work
Yeah.
that's come from that office. This is going to feed into that.
Okay. And when you say the appropriate eyes on it, who are the appropriate eyes, Jeff?
The town,
Okay. The town,
right?
The
So
town government or the town voters?
we haven't, it's just.
You don't
one of-
know yet.
We just don't know.
Okay.
I will say
But
that from what.
like, if we could talk about the implementation, apparently there's some confusion about that, what that is.
that's fine.
I will just say that what the process as described to me by Kelly and Jeff and Jake is that by actually keeping it in front and center as a to-do list for them, it
Yeah.
actually will be a living document.
Okay.
Because they will have to keep kind of convening and talking and meeting with stakeholders to hammer out the specific logistics around that action plan. It can't just be tucked away on the shelf because it's on their to-do list for the coming years.
Well, in the past, we had an implementation committee, which
Was anything
know.
implemented from it?
it got
Yes.
canceled.
Items were implemented from it, though, we do know that.
Yeah, but I personally would like to see that again. So it's not, these decisions aren't being made in a vacuum.
So I guess to answer your question, I guess two questions you had. It's not just the planning board that's making this, tunnel vision decision on implementation. I think the point and the takeaway from tonight is that it's not something that this committee is gonna try and take on in this short period of time that we have left.
Right.
But in terms of what that process formally will look like, that's gonna need some development still. But I wanna emphasize that there's no way that it cannot include public input,
Okay.
input from other stakeholders. That's not realistic to do it that way, so.
Any questions about the land use map process? I know that's come up in a few pockets in the last year about having having the opportunity to kind of look at our current, the current land, and then, having a community-based exercise. So I think that's a good, I'm really looking forward to that.
I think that's a great idea.
Do we have an existing map such as that? Or this is a new concept?
We
Do we
have one
know?
in the current master plan.
We do.
Yeah.
In the 2013 plan.
Yeah.
We do. And I think there was another question.
Yeah, just a quick one, Mr. Chairman. I heard community facilities going to be included in the strategic plan. Maybe I'm misunderstanding, but I thought the items in the strategic plan are things that are going to be executed in the next year, and that this master plan was more 5 years out or so. And so I'm wondering, are the only community facilities being looked at things that can be accomplished in the next year? Or we're not looking beyond that at this point? Or am I misunderstanding the whole thing?
You want to speak to this?
Yes, please, Mr. Town Manager.
So John, as always, your questions are appropriate. The CIP actually covers all the municipal facilities, and that's a 6-year plan. And in addition to that, there'll be an unfunded projects list beyond that, because I want to show all of those, which you don't presently have right now. Strategic plan is operational. As you indicated, it's the next year. And then we look at the 2 years after that. Facilities have to be, you have to look at it on a much larger basis for a longer period of time, as you indicated. And that's how that's going to operate. And the strategic plan, that's how things get done, because we measure them. So the idea is the strategic plan dovetails with the master plan. There's direct linkages. So what are we going to do next year to achieve the objectives in the master plan? What are those things? If it's going to be, we're going to increase the amount of conservation land or open space land by 3%, whatever that is. What are the tasks? What are the action items to get there? And that's what we measure in the strategic plan. So they work together to accomplish that task. That's the implementation piece, because that gets measured every single year, and we know where we're at. And we take our direction from the town council. In this case, the planning board is a key part of that, but there's other land use boards that are involved with that as well. Conservation Commission, which is not a land use board, but they're also involved with that. So just to answer that question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If it's all right, I can continue on with the kind of
Yeah,
the overview
yeah.
of where we're at. So one of the things that we talked about, and in conversations with Kelly, Jeff, Jake, Sean, he was also at the table when we were really thinking through what will it take to get all of this work done in the time frame we've established for ourselves. And so we really talked about what does that mean in the way we all come to the table. So one thing that SNHPC is going to do is we're really taking an all hands on deck approach. So you'll see Cam and I frequently, and you'll also start to see other people from our team. We're going to be working on the remaining chapters simultaneously. There'll be a lot of moving parts happening at once, and I'll talk you through the timeline. We're going to ask this group to really bring full participation to own this product and take ownership of the process, and especially being the face of this work for any outreach required. We also want to think about, if this group meets roughly once a month, how can we maintain productivity in the meantime? So what we decided, and Jeff has signed on for this, Kelly has signed on for this. We'll see if who else will be part of this group, but we will have a much smaller kind of, we'll call it an executive committee for lack of a better word, where we will get together, 10 days before each meeting, prep, talk about the materials needed, really make sure that we all are on the same page about the agenda and everything that needs to get accomplished. It also means that at the close of a meeting, if there's any loose ends that we didn't fully wrap up, we're going to reconvene that group again and talk about how to get that done in the interim. So just having that mechanism in place so that we are not leaving loose ends for an entire month, I think is really important. The other thing I would like to point out is that we want to right-size engagement efforts for the remaining work that we have to do. And I know when you all have probably been a part of a lot of really big picture community outreach, like with that initial survey, they were like, going to table at events and festivals and really get the word out as much as possible. At this point, we really have a lot of the broad-based community participation we need. And aside from that future land use workshop that I'll tell you more about towards the end of this meeting, I would like us to be really targeted and strategic about inviting people to the table who offer the expertise that we need, the diversity of perspectives that we need to ensure that the content of this plan is really going to move us forward in terms of kind of implementation potential. And then the last thing, and I think this is something we all collectively need to work on together, how do we maximize meeting efficiency? On our side, our goal is to try to get you materials as far in advance as possible, ideally a week if we can, so you have plenty of time to review. With that in mind, we're going to ask that the steering committee does your best to do pre-reading and kind of really come prepared. And I think that the fact is, like, we might come to these meetings and we find that there's one particular topic we're getting stuck on. Together, we're going to decide, you know, maybe this is something that needs to be addressed offline with the executive committee. Maybe we're going to watch ourselves. One of my least favorite things is to get stuck on a wordsmithing problem with a group. Like, that's the kind of thing where we can catch ourselves in the act and say, okay, there's a difference of opinion here. Let's punt this to the executive committee, and there can be maybe a round of emails about it, and we'll hammer it out that way. Just so we want to respect people's time. We know that people are kind of already giving a lot of their volunteer effort to be here for these meetings. We have members of the public here, and so we want to make sure we can conduct these meetings as efficiently as possible. Does that sound? I'm seeing some nods. It feels like a kind of good approach for us to move forward with. Okay.
Susan, just one
Yeah.
quick thing about the executive committee. I just want to kind of double tap that. It's definitely more kind of a plan for the plan, a plan for this meeting
Yeah.
to ensure that we're efficient and such like that.
Exactly.
We don't want any major, there's not, you know,
It's not behind the scenes decision making.
No.
It's more of an efficiency. Maybe call it an
Right.
efficiency committee.
yeah, I would probably
We can
say
change
just
the
a
name.
efficiency committee
Efficiency
there.
committee.
And, you know, and if there's anything that does need to come, be discussed offline, I would definitely be wanting to bring, folks into those conversations and really kind of just, at this table have a plan on how we're going to address that. I don't think those types of things would go to the efficiency committee,
Of course. like-
for lack of a
Yeah,
better.
it's what's meaningful. Let's build consensus around the
Yeah.
most meaningful items that have the most impact. And if we need to battle it out over a word, maybe that doesn't have to happen always in this room. Okay, so let's look at the revised timeline.
So I mean, how are we going to decide on that? I mean, how are you going to decide who's going to be on this committee?
Yeah.
Because it needs to be, because we have multiple people from the planning board here, but we have a lot of other interests here represented. The planning board probably is about 40% or more of this group. I think that's going to be critical, Mr. Chair, that we, so I don't know how you're going to do it. I don't want to keep the meetings got to go because we have 2 hours, but the other thing is efficiency, don't do them in person, do them by Zoom or Teams.
Exactly.
But I would urge wide participation in that, whatever you want to call it, so, yeah. Thank you.
The efficiency committee is just setting the agenda and ensuring that things are kind of going,
Keeping each other on
keeping, so.
You don't have to convince me, I've just made a statement, that's up to you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's up to all of us, actually, not just the chair, but.
All right, and so just to move forward to the timeline, so a few things. A lot of these meetings should already be on your calendar. I've highlighted 2 new meetings just because there's so much work to do in a really compressed period of time. One of them is 3 weeks from tonight, on November 6th, and this is what we'd like to propose for the future land use map work session. So this will be interactive. It'll be in this room. We'll be able to bring in some tables, and we'll bring we'll have maps, we'll have stickers. We'll have the rules of the game, and we're going to basically be working in smaller interactive groups and reporting out. So if you all are able to clear that time on your calendar,
Same 6 o'clock here.
yeah, same time. Yeah.
Yeah, unless you want to start earlier.
I think 6 o'clock is fine. And so the other one, because we were having some debate with Kelly and Jeff about because I'm like, there's so much to do. I want to have another meeting in our back pocket just in case we need it. So we added December 11th as an optional potential if we need it, right? If we don't need it, we will cancel it. But I just want to have that held on our calendars in case. There's a lot of work to do, and if we feel like we need to reconvene, I want to make sure we already have space to do that. As we look at what's going to happen over the course of the next few months, tonight is our regroup, it's our strategizing, it's our, really like staking out our plan of action for the next few months. November 6th is going to be fun and interactive, and that's our future land use mapping work session. A few weeks after that is another work session where we'll do chapter development in a similar interactive way. And again, we'll bring in extra facilitators from SNHPC, and we'll do some small group work, and we're going to accomplish a lot in a really short period of time. If all of that goes well, we won't need our December 11th meeting, but we have it just in case. And then December 18th, that's when our team, we're going to come back to the table and present the draft chapters in development. What I imagine this will be is a very detailed outline where you have a sense of exactly the direction this is going. But it's a little bit easier to kind of scan through and provide highlights about here are the data points we want to provide. Here are kind of the resources that we want to tap into. Here's the strategic direction that we learned from the workshop and the draft strategies and the direction that it's heading. But it won't be written in formalized prose. It's something that'll be easier for us to talk about at a big picture level in terms of those remaining chapters. We'll also be able to have a chance to review that kind of updated future land use map and talk more about that and whether we need to make refinements or that feels like it's heading in the right direction. And then if all goes according to plan, on January 15th, we will be presenting the final draft to this group. And then hopefully you'll feel really proud and excited and good about it. It'll feel very representative of all the work we've done together. And we'll be pushing this forward to the planning board. And I would love for whenever we do set that date for planning board, the final public hearing and adoption, it would be great to have many of you attend that session as well. There will probably be at least one meeting with the planning board as well, just to keep them apprised of where we are in this process. But we didn't put that on your calendar. Questions? Okay. So with that, I'm going to pass things over to Cam, and I'll steer the slides. And he's going to tell us a little bit about the survey findings from the most recent survey.
Yes. So from what I understand, this group worked with Sylvia on kind of developing the survey. And we put together a survey summary. It's similar to the survey summary that was done in last year. I'm going to go over some big picture findings. I'm not going to use this time to go question by question. We had Kelly or Jeff send over this summary to you about a week ago in hopes that folks read it. I usually ask my planning boards who did their homework. I'm going to spare you that question. So if you could, try to refrain from questions until I'm done, and then we can if you have specific questions about this summary, I'll be happy to answer
And
questions.
Cam, just one, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I totally breaking your rules right out of the gate.
Yep.
This was also attached to the public agenda as well.
Okay, great.
So it's
Excellent.
It's been out there.
Great. Okay. So we had 658 responses from residents and business owners. As you know, the topics in this survey covered natural resources, transportation, and economic development. And just a little highlight, nearly half have lived in Londonderry. Half of the respondents have lived in Londonderry for over 20 years. And again, this follows the 2024 survey on land use, housing, regional context, and the vision. So I'm going to go by topic, by chapter. And these are some of the things that stuck out to me. There are more things, themes covered in this summary, but I'm going to kind of go through a few. So what we heard was that there's a strong desire to protect Londonderry's water resources, forests, and farmland. Respondents say that preservation is seen as essential to maintaining the town's rural character. There was support for voluntary conservation tools such as easements or incentives over regulatory mandates. So that's calling out to, for example, question 6, where 69% of respondents were in support of voluntary land conservation, while only 27% were for things like a cluster or open space subdivision as a means to, conserve land. However, there is other support out there for, as you can see in that question, for things like zoning incentives for conservation. There is a concern from respondents about rapid development, deforestation, and loss of farmland in town. And we saw that there were links to things like trail access and general recreation with open space conservation. And so I'm going to present a couple questions to the committee, and I don't want you to answer them right now, but to think about these for when we come back and do our work sections on these chapters. So here's a couple questions. How should Londonderry balance growth and conservation? And what types of tools or partnerships could best protect water and land resources? So think about these. We're going to come with more questions for the work sections. We're going to come with some potential recommendations as well, but I want you to start thinking about these. Okay. We're going to move on to transportation now. From respondents, there are concerns about traffic congestion and problem intersections. That's from really question 12. Over 86% felt that these were very important. The roads are seen as unsafe for non-drivers. That was question 14, and 74% of respondents felt that roads are unsafe for non-drivers. There's interest in expanding access to parks and trails through safer walking and biking routes. There's also limited awareness and use of the local transit options that are available in Londonderry, things like CART and MTA services. And there was an emphasis on improving mobility for seniors, for youth, and for residents without cars. So some of the key questions for you: how can Londonderry improve mobility and safety for all road users? And what role should pedestrian and bicycle planning play in shaping future development? Okay, economic development. Respondents said that they prefer small, local, community-oriented businesses. There was lower support for large-scale or chain development. There's a desire to revitalize existing commercial areas, and a large majority support redevelopment of underutilized buildings specifically. That came from question 33. There are calls to streamline permitting for businesses. As you know, we asked specific questions to business owners in Londonderry, and that I think that was the top one. As far as workforce priorities, respondents thought that trade and vocational training could help with local job creation. And the overarching theme here is kind of maintaining a balance between growth and community character. Again, a kind of a reoccurring theme here. So some questions for you. How can Londonderry support business diversity while preserving community character? And what kinds of businesses or partnerships would best strengthen the local economy here? And
Sorry, I don't know why it's going backwards. My bad. I have,
with that,
While
I'll
you're doing that, can I just add? I'm
Go
going to
ahead.
send you guys the PowerPoint so you can refer
Okay,
back
thank
to
you.
the
Oh, yeah.
questions.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
you don't have to rapidly take notes right now.
Yeah, that was
I could see everybody
Thank
trying
you.
to.
Does anybody have any questions in general about the summary itself? I'm happy to answer questions.
It was not unexpected.
Right.
I don't really, excuse me, I don't even have any questions. I think there's several things that really, I printed it and I, highlighted it and all
Yep.
that, old school, right?
Yeah.
But things like pedestrian access, sidewalks, bike lanes, connectivity among these streets, the fact that the roads, are not really, there's nowhere to walk, in these roads. I mean, there's no, part of it's just the way the town was built, and, you know,
Yeah.
it is what it is. And also the things that we've discussed here, you know, the last, what, a year now, Mr. Chair, maybe more, I lost track. But things like concern for overdevelopment or development, let's rephrase it, the pace of development, you know, what it's doing to open lands and conservation land. Also, quite frankly, historical resources. I mean, there's been a big debate about one particular property in this town that's part of historic resources, but the conversation, I think the survey, to me personally, and I took it, and my wife, you know, we took it, but it just nailed everything we've been talking about that are really people are concerned about.
Absolutely.
Whether you get 600 something or whether you get 1,800 or whatever we had in the first one. But I think this is my perception, is that people in this town see what we're doing as a community, the government body, and they're not seeing a connection between the things that are in the survey necessarily, which is what we're hearing, and what's really being done. I don't know if people agree with that, but that just a statement, not a question. Thank you.
I would say I agree with that.
Yes, very much. And the fact that so many people taking the survey have lived here more than 20 years, these people know what they're talking about. They've seen the development, and they know that it has accelerated greatly in the recent past. That's, I mean, everybody sees it, feels it, knows it.
Yeah.
Any other
comments?
sorry.
I thought I was spot on. And I have been here since '86, so.
Hard questions, though, that you've posed to us, that are gonna have to take a lot of our consideration and our general population's considerations, because we're a, you know, New Hampshire historically more rural communities. You take, you know, you look at Massachusetts, I grew up in Connecticut, we all had sidewalks in our neighborhoods. You know, that was a given. Here, we don't have, you know, public water, we don't have a sewer system, you know, we don't have sidewalks. So we're babies. We have to grow into this,
Right.
what our vision is, and that's going to cost a lot of money, and we have to do it very thoughtfully, carefully. That's my speech.
I agree, and luckily that's why we're all here. You know, to try to put some answers out there or a vision out there for, you know, finding that balance and trying to guide the town in a way that, you know, maintains the character of the town that people love so much, you know. So yeah, we're planners. That's what we're gonna try to do here. So, all right, I'm gonna pass it back to Suzanne, unless anyone has.
Before we move on, I
Go ahead.
do want to, that was kind of a loaded, there was a lot there.
Yep.
And I do know that at least one member of the public would like to speak, so I'd
Oh,
like to
great.
kind of entertain
Thank you.
that. Ray, why don't you come on up?
Ray Burson, 3 Gary Drive. I got here kind of late, but I heard part of the presentation. I heard this gentleman presenting about survey and what the general public said. Very important. The general public does have input, that does have, are paying attention and do have concerns. This is highly important that we look at all of this and consider all of this and consider where the town is, and that, yes, we're playing catch up. A lot of things that were not done in the past, now we're dealing with. And land use, land conservation, all of this is extremely important. And we have to put forward those things that are most important. And we know all of this costs money. And where's it coming from? We can't put further burden on the taxpayer. The taxpayers have way too much burden already. And so, we have to figure out ways to get these things done. And I think we are moving currently in the right direction. You folks are doing some great work. Considering all of this, we now have a town manager that has the experience and is bringing forth a lot of great ideas. So, I appreciate all of this, but these are the town's decision, and we have Southern New Hampshire to assist, but the ultimate decisions are from the town. And all of you folks have the ability to bring this forward. Perhaps you don't have the ability to make the final decisions, but you have the ability to make influence on those that do. And the conversations are extremely important. The survey was really important. A lot of good things. And if you look at the former town master plan, a lot of those things were brought up back then. And there's still valid questions that have to be addressed. So, land use, extremely important. What is the land going to be used for? And what lands are we going to protect? Conservation, yes. Watersheds, yes. We have to consider that. And a lot of it's been impacted already. And unfortunately, in some cases, we're dealing with rules and regulations that need to be updated. And consequently, when a developer comes forward with a piece of land that they want to develop, and they say, well, you know, I want to do this, this, and this, and that's what your regulations say, and consequently, the town has to say, well, that's what it says, and that's what we have to go by. So, thank you for allowing me to speak. I think it's so important that the general public has the ability to put their thoughts forward, which they have in some of these surveys. And so, and once again, I think it's really important that the young people, for instance, at the high schools and so forth, we get their input, because it's their future. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thanks, Ray. Much appreciated. Ms. Perez?
Thank you. Christine Perez, 5 Leslie Drive. Thank you for the survey. It only shows exactly what we have been saying for multiple years in this town. And I would like a copy of that survey to go to each one of your town councilors so that maybe, finally, we can get them to listen that we lost impact fees 11 years ago. Do you realize how many millions of dollars we have lost over the past 11 years because of poor decision making? Well, the town council put off talking about implementing impact fees again, said they would bring it up at budget season. Well, budget season is here. And there's no reason why they couldn't have months ago asked the town manager to put together a plan, but they didn't do that. So if this survey could possibly go to each of the town councilors, and maybe we can get them to listen to the people of Londonderry. I've been preaching impact fees. I put in a bill to increase the ability to use impact fees. I don't know if it'll get passed or not, but I'm trying. Please put some pressure on getting this process going. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Yeah, we can definitely move on.
So moving on to our final task for tonight, I want to talk about how to prepare for these fall work sessions. So I'll start out by giving a high-level overview of kind of the approach that we're thinking about on the SNHPC side. We can talk more about the nuances and what's needed for each of these sessions. And then I'd love to talk about outreach needs, and hopefully we all walk away with some clear assignments for bringing folks to the table to have these very important discussions. So the work session approach, like I said, this is going to be very different than the way a meeting like this is structured. What we'd like to do is make this interactive. We'd like to bring additional SNHPC staff to facilitate and break into some small groups, and have people have time to kind of sit with other committee members, other community members, and really talk through some of these complicated questions. The future land use work session in particular, because this is such a foundational component of the master plan, it is required, it is a way to visualize our values on the map. And I think it's really important to encourage as much community buy-in as possible for a workshop on future land use. The way this will be run is, we'll bring some big maps, and we'll set up tables, we'll bring some larger maps, as well as some reference maps. So I think it's good for people to be able to see, like, here's a smaller map so we can see the zoning or the existing land use, or understand like where the conservation lands are, or wetlands, or other development constraints. So you have something to refer to on that side of things. But then we the way we do these activities, and this worked really well when I did this in Chester a few months ago, we kind of make it a game, right? Like where it's like each person at the table gets a certain number of dots that in respect to a certain type of land use, and it's their chance to put their own dots on the map. And you start to see where clusters aggregate. So you start to see where people do want to see additional housing, or where people are interested in mixed-use development or additional industrial or commercial development. You also get to see where people are really wanting to prioritize their conservation dots, or where I always like to give people at least one red dot where you can say, like, please don't change anything here. Like, I love it exactly as it is, right? So what we'll do is we will basically have a work session with a few different tables depending on how many people show up. Each group will then report out, and we'll photograph the maps, we'll take them all back with us, and we'll aggregate all of the content. We have some really great mapping expertise back at our office, and we'll be able to use that to understand the community's intention for future land use. And so what we'll do is that then in a future meeting, we'll come back to you and say, well, here's everything that came together from that exercise. So it's really fun. I'm excited to do that with you all. That's the big picture for future land use. For the session that's going to happen a few weeks after that, the chapter development, this is still an open public meeting, and anyone's welcome to attend, but I'd really like to encourage folks on the committee to promote this strategically and bring community expertise to the table. So if you know some business owners who are itching to talk about economic development, let's bring them. We want to make sure maybe a representative from the Londonderry Chamber, that would be a great presence to have in the room. You'll think about folks on the Conservation Commission and maybe even beyond the Conservation Commission, and who we'd want to invite to be the resident experts on natural resource considerations. Transportation planners, we might want to think about emergency stuff, right? We might want to think about folks who are working at schools and thinking about how kids are walking to school. So we want to be thoughtful about who are all the folks we want in the room on the transportation side. And then historic and cultural resources. John, obviously we're going to really need to work with you to focus on bringing folks to the table on that side of things, and really digging into historic resources and the kind of the work of the Heritage Commission and the aspirations of that commission that should really blend into the master plan, and maybe think about cultural resources more broadly. So this is a bigger picture strategy that we can start to work together on tonight, and we can also kind of revisit at the next meeting to make sure we're inviting a nice collection of folks to the table who can really inform the content of this plan. This is going to be a little bit different. We will have additional facilitators here. We'll have 4 separate groups around the room, but rather than everybody doing the same exercise, we're going to have targeted questions, targeted resources, draft strategies for people to pick apart and chew on. Every group will have a little bit of different content, and then we'll all report back to the full room about, tell us how your conversation went. So we'll get to hear what happened in every group, and as time permits, we might let people like float around the room and see and visit different tables, because I think it's nice to be able, people have interest in multiple groups, right? So we'll talk more about how to, the exact mechanism for that, and we'll learn more about how that will work, especially after we hold the future land use workshop. And so a sample agenda, I think that we can probably accomplish either of these work sessions in 90 minutes to 2 hours without too much trouble. So we'd want to kick off with an overall kind of welcome and introduction. I think it'd be great to have opening remarks from Jeff, from Kelly, from, you know, folks in the town who are just like basically thanking people for taking time to offer their input. SNHPC will do a very high level foundational presentation, because we know some people will be coming in with a lot of background on the master plan process, and some people won't know as much about where we are in the process as a whole. So we'll talk about the process, we'll talk about the work of this group, we'll select some survey highlights that are most relevant to our work for that evening, and have a little bit of room for Q&A so people can hopefully all get on the same page before we break into small groups. Then we'll have interactive work sessions, and I think that we can probably accomplish that in about 45 minutes, whether it's mapping, whether it's conversations about strategies. We'll also be taking notes on flip chart paper, right? We're gonna do everything we can to thoroughly record the work of those small groups, and we wanna make sure we're leaving time for report back so people can hear what other groups had to say. I think report back will go relatively quickly with the mapping exercise because we're all doing the same thing, and once you hear a certain amount of themes from one table, they just start to get reiterated as you move around the room. When we have to actually look at 4 different chapters, we might want to brace ourselves for a longer report back and conversation because we have a lot of ground to cover that evening. So that will be closer to a 2-hour session for sure. And then just letting people know that as we close out, here are the next steps. Here's when to expect a draft for public comment period. Just starting to get people to understand that, you know, their input is really appreciated. This is not the end of the road. There's more opportunity to kind of weigh in as the draft plan comes together. So that is the vision for how our next 2 meetings together will go. Any questions?
Yes, I have a question. Is this on us, this committee, to go out and publicize this and bring people in from the public, from the community? So we should go tell everybody, we should put on Facebook or whatever.
Exactly.
This is an important thing, okay.
You're getting to, this is my next slide.
Yep.
So yeah.
Sorry.
We'll get to that, but if there's other questions, we can get to those first. Is there anything else?
I was just gonna build on what she said, instead of us all going to the police chief and being like, hey, come to our next meeting.
Exactly.
At least make roles of people we want.
Exactly. So, in terms of kind of our assignments for moving forward, like I said, future land use, this is just open call. We want this to be transparent, open. Everyone who's interested is really invited to the table. I think a lot of the mechanisms you all have used in the past that have been really successful, I know your Facebook posts get attention. You know, I know we're gonna bring a lot of people here. Kelly, I don't know if you're concerned about too many people coming. Nah, okay.
You can accommodate.
Fantastic. So what we'll do, you know, on the SNHPC side, next week we'll put together a sample Facebook post, maybe a sample newsletter blurb. You know, you might want to think about posting on if there's a town sign that we can update. You know, how do we just get the word out in the community in a general way? And that's going to be happening in the next 3 weeks. So I would like a couple of, we don't have to decide right this second. We want a couple of volunteers from this group to personally own kind of that broader outreach about November 6th. For the chapter development, the session that we're going to have on November 20th, again, this is where we actually want to get really mindful and strategic about who we're inviting to the table, and we can use some time tonight to brainstorm. But this will not be like, put it up on the town sign. This will be like, let's compose an email that makes this sound like a really appealing thing for someone to spend 2 hours doing with us. Let's give them an agenda in advance so they know that we know what we're doing and their time will not be wasted. And so we can help you kind of frame that type of like direct outreach collateral. And ideally, at least one person on the committee will be volunteering for each of these topics. So you'll kind of take responsibility and say, like, I'm gonna bring the right people to the table for natural resources, right? So it's probably intuitive to you all who should do what, but I think it would be great for folks at the, on the steering committee to really take ownership for which aspect of the outreach they'd like
I
to
agree.
own.
There's a question though. I mean, we have other avenues. Unfortunately, the editor of the Londonderry Times just walked out. But I think that we're a much bigger community than Chester or some of the other ones that you've worked in. I'm pretty familiar with where you've worked. And to be really effective, I think you can't, I mean, sure, we could talk to zoning board, and they could talk to whatever, conservation or utilities, but you need a bigger megaphone that we individuals can't do other than putting in our Facebook accounts. You need to the town put something on their website. We need to put something in a paper. We should write an article, and the deadlines are, I believe, a week in advance or
Yeah,
a week in advance. So you got to write something like next week. Yeah. We could put a letter to the editor. One of us can write one, but you need a bigger megaphone than the people that are here. Just to be frank with you.
Yeah,
you
no,
know?
that's
Definitely
that's
provide those
great.
details. Yeah.
I mean,
We agree. But, I think that posing this to you guys is that you are the local experts here. We are planners and we have the capability to facilitate these things, but we need your help for the exact points that you just brought up.
we have assistant town manager sitting right there, so
Yeah.
I guess we can ask Kelly
Yeah.
Karen, what can the town do to help us get it out?
Yep.
Yep.
That's, yeah.
I'm
No,
sorry,
you're
Jeff.
Right, and I think
Yeah.
that's where I want to definitely kind of take the next, the next level of this conversation is, this was great, awesome. Get us framed up, and I know you gave us an out to say we don't have to decide tonight. I'm going to say that we have to decide tonight, because we're not going to be able to
Yeah.
kind of, by the time that we remember that we have to decide something, it's
Right.
November 6th.
Exactly.
So we are going to decide this evening. With that said, I do think that having the paper representation. So I wrote a letter to the editor for the surveys. I can do that again. Kind of promoting this. I can also I would probably I think it's a good idea. Well, I know it's a good idea. Not to be presumptuous or anything along those lines, but to write an article, just kind of
I would volunteer to do that.
Excellent.
Great.
Really kind of just like what we're doing, what we're going to be doing
For-
next,
for-
and how we're
for the-
going.
For November 6th, and
Yeah.
explain it. Yep.
Yeah.
I'm happy to do that. I'll send it to you, run it by you, and then you can say, go ahead.
If you just want to send it to Kelly, and then Kelly can
Kelly.
send it to the remainder of the board for review. I don't want to kind of be any. I think it's important that we all kind of like understand.
I mean,
what's-
unless you're all in agreement that Martha's capable and doesn't need my
I'm
2
fine
cents.
with.
I just want
You're
to
looking
make
for-
sure
are
that
you looking for
everything's
approve?
okay with the art. Yeah, approval.
I can proof it for
That's fine.
date check.
Yep.
Information check.
Yeah.
But
And we'll send you the agenda of like the workshop, and so it'll have a little more details for you to, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we'll give you the facts. We'll lay it out a little.
Yeah.
To be a
How
week in
soon can you
advance.
give that to me? Because we do
Tomorrow.
have a deadline on the paper.
Yeah.
Tomorrow,
Oh,
perfect.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We'll not be in the office.
And-
I can get it to you.
Thank you.
Mr. One more question. Do we still? I can't see Kelly
I'm
because.
sorry.
Do you still have the Lantern newsletter, or
that's not active right now.
that's
but,
not? I didn't think so. I just.
but we definitely have obviously our website, the town's Facebook.
Yeah.
We have some, I'll call it a sign for lack of better terms, but outside the police department
Yep.
that does have the ability to change.
Yeah, I think
so
that's great.
I have that written down as a question as to
Yeah.
how can I
Yeah.
get information on that.
That's perfect.
And I think I hit
And-
your
Well,
question.
there's the email notifications that go out to people who have
Right,
signed,
and-
subscribed.
Signed up.
Correct, yep.
And the only other suggestion I had, I'm having an issue with my toll boards account because I got a new phone, so I can't get it to work. I'm sure many of you have had
So-
issues with that.
Help you.
Yeah, no, I know that.
But
So
Marge, you're talking about the email.
the toll boards,
the
but
website.
I think.
Right.
Oh no, I'm talking about the toll boards.
Right.
I think that all of us are on committees, and I'm assuming you all get emails for committees. And I know for zoning, it comes from you, I think, or
Probably Alicia.
yeah. I think just send an e-blast to zone. I wish I could, but I can't. I may be able
we
next
can-
week. But just to let the zoning board know, 2 of us are here, but there's 5 others,
Right,
right?
because you don't meet again until.
Till after the 6th.
So
We just met
can,
last night. right?
Cover the land use boards, because we
Yeah.
have all of that
Yeah.
in our
I
office.
think that will get you the experts that you're looking for.
Great.
Experts.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
And
For that.
Kelly, if you want, I can pen that message to the land use, to all boards and committees, I think makes sense. And then, facilitate that out, just to kind of,
So you're gonna send me something?
I'm gonna send you something, and then you're gonna send people something.
I'll have somebody send it.
But that should do the trick, don't you think, Mr. Chair? I mean, that's a pretty good outreach.
Yeah, no, there's.
I think that you need a big megaphone. This is not Chester or, some of these smaller towns,
Yeah.
so.
I'm also willing to do the
I love Chester.
posting, because there's a lot of other Londonderry pages. I'm willing to post on those if you want.
Auburn, these smaller
Yeah, so, and I think that, social media definitely is, Facebook posts.
Right.
I love, especially, some of the groups, all of us have posted, and then it's just like, oh yeah, there's Bob, there's Martha, there's John.
Londonderry Times is a good one.
Yeah.
The Londonderry Facebook page. I mean, I guess it would be helpful. I can't get to my toll ports, but if there's one post or some sample of a post, they can all say the same thing.
Right,
Might be helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
I'll
would
say
be.
the same thing.
Within the next 3 to 4 or 5 days, hopefully
Right,
I'll be back.
and
up
the
on
reason
email.
for that too is because the more you see it, the more it gets
Correct.
into your brain.
Absolutely.
I think I don't know if the average, I think the average is like still, you have to see something 5 times before you actually read it. So actually having kind of the Facebook posts and such like that, kind of, flooding the zone for is
Like 200 people.
works.
Yeah. I think we can do that.
Oh, Deb,
Deb Paul, 118 Hardy Road. I just have one clarification, if you don't mind. You're saying you want these people here. Will the residents be able to participate in the sticker thing? Because that really wasn't mentioned.
Right,
It was
well,
like,
that's gonna be
you're
what
like
we're talking
watching it. I'm like, are we coming
So
to
you're out of the
watch it, or
room
do you
on
want us to participate?
that's-
And I just wanted it to be stated and clear. I'm sorry.
no, you're good. And I was gonna bring that up too, and just kind of double tap on that one too.
Yeah, and-
the residents absolutely.
Yeah, we want to invite them all.
No, that's what
the
I
whole thing.
would think, but, and I really think that you guys should consider using the high school cafeteria. Parking is much better, and it's a bigger space, and it has cable, because that's where we used to have them, is in that caf area.
If we,
Thank you.
Actually, that's a good point. Thanks, Tim. John?
Just 2 things. I can do the Facebook posting for the groups too. I've had some pretty good luck with that. Also, I have had some luck with, on the Beautify Londonderry side, getting us on all the school marquees out front. And, but I sort of need that quick, because it's a process and it takes a couple of weeks to get the schools moving, so.
Yeah, we're gonna turn this around. I'm not promising tomorrow because I'm at a conference tomorrow. We'll have a lot of content for you. If we do want to think about changing the location, though, let's hammer that out
We should
before we start
decide.
communicating.
Yes. Like, that's up to you guys, and we're very flexible, and we've done big.
Oh, yeah.
I did one in Hooksett that had, I don't know, over 300 people,
No way.
and so we needed their high school auditorium.
Well-
But we would need time to, prepare enough materials, kind of thing. So we need to decide
Yeah, and
that,
I think we would need someone to take on the role of orchestrating whatever
Yes.
logistical needs with the high school.
yeah, I think that the town can help with
Oh, yeah,
that, but, and I think that more for the 6th
Yes.
than for the 20th.
Yes.
That we're talking about, that
Exactly.
bigger,
Exactly.
hopefully.
Yeah, that's November 6th. We want to start spreading the word as quickly as possible. It's only 3 weeks away.
Yeah.
So we
Correct.
want to get that into your hands ASAP.
Correct.
So the big question that I would have is, do we feel confident? Like, if we think we're going to have like 20, 30 people, that would be fantastic, but we can fit them in this room. We don't need to go off-site and make our lives more
Correct.
complicated and up the logistical component. If you all know better than me how It's one thing to get 600 people to respond to a survey. It's another thing to get people to come out in person.
During dinner
Correct,
time.
particularly
dinner
at 6 o'clock.
I'm
Right.
gonna be the negative
Dinner
person
time.
here and say, I don't think we're gonna see a bunch of people. I mean,
I
I
don't
think there's
either.
been a couple town councils that's been crowded and school board meetings only during COVID. And now, I mean, I don't go to the town council anymore on the school board side of things, but I would think this room.
We'll give it
are we
our best
expecting-
effort.
I don't know. That's just my opinion from trying to get my generation to volunteer.
Yeah, if we needed to, we do have another meeting room that we could use in this building. And then, reconvene here, so,
Yeah. Let's keep it local, just to make the call and make the communication process as streamlined as possible and the logistics. Because I would much rather have a room that feels crowded and that buzzing than a giant empty space or only a few
And the gyms are used at night, so I don't know.
Cafeteria.
Yeah.
There's
It
a
would be
lot.
the cap, but yeah, I agree.
Okay,
I personally think
so we
So
can, we
the
should be able to
last
turn
master
around like the
plan was
basic
done in
outline
here.
of like how to start promoting this tomorrow and Monday, like we could,
Yeah, is Monday too late to receive, let's say, a sample, whatever?
like newsletter blurb,
No,
Facebook
agenda,
post.
agenda we already have.
Yeah.
Agenda, Martha, you will get
you're gonna-
tomorrow.
Okay, and I'll give you my email.
And then, I mean, we can give you a a blurb.
Yeah.
This doesn't need to be a
Right.
It's
big
not rocket
piece,
science,
you
yeah.
know. Who can I send that to tomorrow? Okay.
Kelly.
We'll just get that to you tomorrow.
so I'm the person or the planning department's gonna make sure we're the filter of information.
Okay,
We're the center
great.
of information. That way there's no
Cross lines.
miscommunication or duplicate communication.
Can he just send for the agenda to me so I can start this article for the newspaper? Since that's, has a deadline? That's
Yeah,
okay.
I don't
I mean, he
think-
can send it to you too, but
Yeah.
I would like to get it soon.
Okay,
Yeah. Okay.
that's fine.
Okay, so it sounds like we're ready to do a big push. We have the town, we have a great list. The town's pulling out all the stops to get the word out about November 6th. You all are gonna post on personal Facebook posts. While you're meeting with other committees and boards and folks that you interact with on the day-to-day, you can start to whisper campaign November 20th. But for now, in terms of the big public communication, we want all eyes on that November 6th mapping workshop. Sound like a plan? Great. I think that's all I have for you.
Yeah, let's fill this room.
Yep.
Let's fill this room.
Let's
Yep.
fill this room, yeah.
Excellent. Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
just a couple of quick, on the November 20th session, with the groups, what would be an ideal number of individuals to have for each group?
You know what, I would say for each group, we can be aspirational, but I would say that in terms of people all being able to, like, have a good conversation and participate, if you have like 6 people per group, that would be fantastic. Like if you want a target number, that way you can start to make your list in your mind. And I will say that having that personal outreach saying, I'd really love for you to be here. We're going to talk about this. It's really important to the master plan. It's going to make all the difference in actually bringing folks into the room. So if you can kind of keep that in mind for your outreach, I think that's a good target.
And one of the things I'd suggest is, just as November 6th is close, November 20th, particularly for busy people, isn't that far down the road.
Yeah.
Correct.
It's a
And,
month away.
Yeah.
and you certainly want to have some of the folks you're reaching out to start to at least put X's on their calendars.
Right.
for
Correct.
that. So it might be to our advantage.
Yeah, I think it's appropriate to have those conversations, like Suzanne was saying about the 20th, but in terms of like the public blasting of information, the focus on the 6th, so that way people don't
Get their
get
lines
confused
crossed,
and, but yeah, absolutely, if you have like your direct contacts in mind for those 6
Yeah,
people, if you
that
will,
would be
start the
very targeted.
conversations now, yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Can we collect, again, I'm hoping to be back on that email soon. That's the major thing in my life right now. But should we have a collecting point? Because obviously you want law enforcement, you want fire, EMS, first responders, the one on the 20th, right?
Yes.
Yeah, either the deputy chief or police chief or deputy chief, somebody from all the committees, senior and committee, utilities, planning. I mean, by the time you do this, but, so we're not reaching out all to the same people. How can we streamline that process by sending our recommendations? I'm just thinking practically, Mr. Chair, you
It's
know.
also within those four
Right.
chapters, so, some of these people that are on committees maybe aren't directly involved in this, but
That's why I was suggesting maybe we have a volunteer for each topic.
Yep.
Someone on the committee says, I'm gonna own natural resources invitations. And if anyone wants to collaborate with me, I'm putting together a list of who I'm gonna reach out to. So that's what I'd recommend this group kind of come away with tonight, is knowing who's your point person for each of these topics in terms of conveying that outreach.
You have
So
natural-
Marge is gonna do natural
you have
resources.
natural resources and you have historic.
Transportation.
I could try transportation.
Does the town have a
Is that
safety committee?
It does.
Yeah, like traffic, we have
Yeah,
a
yeah.
traffic safety committee.
We do.
Yes, we do.
Yep. That some representation from there would be great. Like
Yep.
police and fire would be great.
Yep.
Planning board,
DPW.
DPW.
DPW, I could do transportation.
Martha's doing transportation. John,
Thank
I'll
you.
probably have you. Economic development.
Want me to do it?
It's only in your job title.
I have the. One of my many titles. I'm on the board of directors for the chamber, so I can
Oh, great.
easily invite someone,
Perfect.
and then I have plenty of business contacts, but like Suzanne said, please, if you have your own, just send them to me, and
I
I'll
think that's probably fine,
add them to the list.
but, Mr. Chair, but the other one, the first one, right, land use, that's gonna be the 6th? Is that correct? So
Yes.
the land use boards are gonna know about it, I mean zoning board and planning and
Yep.
whatever, so that's off the table, so the 4 are the ones below?
Yep.
Okay, so I think we just addressed them, I just double checked.
No,
I
I
double checked on the top one, because I thought I'm sure I understood correctly.
No, I do want to, no, please.
And you're gonna
please do.
send us this presentation.
Yes.
Kelly is.
Thanks.
The other, just the comment that
All
I'm
roads
gonna,
lead to Kelly.
just one comment I'm gonna make is that, obviously, we've been living this for over a year now. The town hasn't, so we do need to kind of explain things like they're 5, right? And I say that in not a rude way, but just like a very basic way. So, so as we're kind of, promoting this and talking through it, the simpler the message, the better.
Yes. And we can help with that too. You all did put together, if I recall correctly, like an FAQ? Or I can't, maybe I'm,
There's an FAQ. I think it was.
website?
Yeah, it's on the website, but it was at the onset of the project, so
Okay.
it's been a bit of time since it's really kind of been looked at. I think it was probably best guess, drawing from previous master plan sites and stuff like that.
yeah, we can definitely provide some big picture, like, we'll keep the language simple, and we will provide a little bit of explanation about like what is a master plan and why
Yeah.
are we even doing this, right? I think
Yeah,
that having
yeah.
that 2-sentence description is gonna be really helpful.
Yeah.
All right.
Any other questions? John or Art, anything?
I think good progress is being made, so keep on the same path.
John, you gonna be here November 6th? Yeah. Probably. Excellent. Good. Awesome. Anything else from the board?
Do you, Mr. Chair, do you need any volunteers for this? You're not calling executive committee anymore, you're calling it, I don't know what you want to call it, do you need? I'll volunteer
Executive.
for it, I don't know what you want to call it,
I'd volunteer for it too.
Ideally, meeting remotely, virtually if we can, you know.
Yeah, yeah, and again, like, we're definitely just, ensuring that what we
Yeah.
are, kind of, you're planning the roadmap for this entire project, and what's the information that the steering committee needs, who's gonna be giving it out and stuff like that. So, yeah, we'll probably want to think through that. There is, I actually did not announce this at the beginning, but Jake Butler did kind of step away from this committee, being chair of the planning board. A lot on his plate currently, so we are going to be
Appointing a
looking
new
for-
person.
yeah,
We should.
working through kind of the planning board to kind of appoint someone from there to fill that role, but we're also needing probably a vice chair that will be kind of looked at as well. So more to come on that. But yeah, if you have time to step in on a planning meeting, absolutely. You'll probably get tasks, but that's fine.
I mean,
Less me, the more
what
you.
you're doing, I mean, just to make sure I understand, what you're looking to do is you're looking to basically set up for the next meeting.
That's it.
That's what it is.
Yeah, we just want to ensure that all of the
It's
ducks.
up to you. I mean, I'm just volunteering. You don't have to pick me or anybody or Martha or anybody else.
Yeah,
It's up to the committee.
The committee's just there just to kind of set up for the next meeting, ensuring that, that any information that Kelly needs to distribute is provided by Kelly. If there's any kind of like risks that are emerging, saying, oh, we're not going to get this information to the committee by this date, and then there's just like, okay, so what date can we get it and stuff like that. It's just
Is there already a committee, Jeff?
it's
So I think there's a little confusion about
Yeah.
like
yeah,
the scope
it's
of
it
this.
really should.
Yeah.
So it's really just like almost administrative work. So it's been chair, vice chair, like your typical chair, vice chair, staff, and the RPC.
Right.
Just like I do in prep for like a planning board meeting or a conscom meeting where we work
Right.
with the chairs, develop the agendas,
Okay.
make sure
So
the
there
information
basically
is
is
there.
already a committee.
Yes.
There's already.
Essentially,
Oh,
yes. I
yeah,
think
so
that
that's fine.
Okay, I get it.
just for the purposes of conversation, so we
Yeah.
put executive committee on there.
So I don't think you need anybody
I think
else.
that's a strong way to put it, but it's,
Yeah.
it's just making sure the administrative side of things is done.
Okay.
And then if it's necessary, like the wordsmithing example.
Yeah.
Covering that, but if that were to be something that, I'm just gonna call it a group, would take on, I think that there would be more discussion as to what that actually looks like and if that group of people is appropriate for that
Okay.
decision, if you will, or
Okay, so that would be
conversation.
ad hoc as it happens.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. So
Mr. Chair,
Yes, John.
did that committee organize this meeting?
I will take ownership of the word executive committee. And that
No,
was-
no, no, no. I'm not taking an
I
issue.
just threw it on there.
I'll be
Yes.
honest, I was going to throw flowers, okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think this meeting was well organized and heading in the right direction.
Yes.
And if that's going to be the product of the executive committee, I'm not as concerned as some of maybe our fellow board members are about what might come out of that. And I'm more interested in efficient, productive,
Yep.
and
Correct.
and rewarding
Great.
meetings,
Yeah.
frankly, than I am in
I think we all
putting
are.
them together.
We all
But
are.
yeah, just full background. So myself, Suzanne, Cam, Sylvia, Jeff, Jake, who am I forgetting? Anyone?
Was Sean on the call?
Maybe Sean, Faber, that is, met, reconvened to make sure we're headed in the right direction, figure out what Suzanne so eloquently explained as far as what the next, whatever, 6 some odd months looks like. Making sure that we were in agreement as to how that was gonna be presented to you all, and making sure that the the immediate next steps were covered and presented appropriately to you all at this meeting tonight. So again, like that administrative work of putting that together, what does it look like, making sure you get it on time, that's what was done prior to today. If that makes sense.
It was also kind of partly a request from me, because especially with passing the torch and having, I know you all have been working, and we're coming in new, and Sylvia's passing the torch, and I have a lot of material to draw upon, but one of the things that I think is so important is to make sure that we are using our time as productively as possible.
Correct.
So I really wanted to say, like, who can I talk to in between meetings? I don't want to, like, wait a month if I have a question. And so that's what we talked about, is just like, what's the structure? How do I touch base with somebody and know that that's there? So I really appreciate the flexibility to be able to do that, because I do think that that leads to more productive discussion.
I agree.
Excellent. All right. Any other questions or comments or flowers that anyone wants to throw?
Is the replacement for Jake going to come from planning board?
It is a planning board seat, so yes.
Okay.
Excellent. All right, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
I'll second.
All in favor, please.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.
Thanks for your time.